I'm Patrick Gavin, Politico. I'm joined by former Congressman David Bonior. You've got a very interesting project, I think, especially for a former congressperson. We all expect to go in the private sector and lobby and whatever. But tell us what you're up to with a new restaurant.
Restaurant and food is where my life is moved to, and it's because of my family, basically. My stepson Stephen and his wife Amanda have been in the business now, well, they're in their mid-40s, so they've been in the business for about 20, 25 years each, running restaurants in and around Washington, D.C., and we decided at one point, well, let's give it a shot ourselves. So we opened Zest on 8th Street on Barracks Row, across from Marine Corps Barracks, American cuisine with a little twist. And then we've just opened up, and we're very excited about Agua 301, which is down in Yards Park on the waterfront between the ballpark and the Navy Yard. So we're very excited about the opening.
And what's your own sort of history with food? Are you sort of a long-time foodie, or is this a sort of late-in-life hobby?
Well, I think foodie may be too descriptive of my adventure with food. Although I enjoy food, my mother passed away when I was very young, so I spent time in the kitchen learning to cook for myself and the family. And then when I was in the Air Force back in the late 60s, I was a cook. So I went to cook school at Fort Lee in Virginia and learned to bone a ham and cut a chicken up and do all those basic things, and then cooked for a year and a half at George Air Force Base in California. And then basically, though, I'm relegated to the grill now and cleaning up after dinner. My wife does the cooking. So that's the extent of my cooking today. But I enjoy the creativity of the whole business and the different pieces that go into it. And it's been fun.
So people who go to Agua, can they expect to see you behind the grill?
No.
No? It's like a special perk?
They'll see me out front, greeting people, chit-chatting and trying to make their experience as pleasant as possible.
You know, you and I were just talking off camera about some of the changes we've seen in D.C. And over the years, one of the bigger changes, or one of the big changes, is the change in food. D.C. was never considered to be a good food city. I'm sure people would still say it's second to New York and Chicago and L.A. But it's significantly better than it used to be. You've been here a while. What changes have you seen, and sort of how would you rate the city's food offerings?
Oh, I think the offerings, as you have mentioned, have increased dramatically. And when I first, on Barracks Row, for instance, when I first came into the city, there were like 3 or 4 restaurants on 8th Street between I and Pennsylvania. Now there's probably 30 or 35, and the variety is amazing, from Asian to Latin to Zest, which is, of course, Creative American, all different kinds. And now, down in Yards Park, where we have our new restaurant, Agua 301, there's a wonderful Italian restaurant next to us, Marini. There's a sushi place and a Kruba, which is a Thai place. And then there's the brewery incredible building they put up over there. So the choices in Yards Park are really varied, and quality of the food is good, and the service and the venue is spectacular.
Still not as good as New York, though?
Well,
we constantly live in their shadow, it seems like.
Probably not, but who cares? It's very good here.
Yeah.
New York is New York. It's a unique place in the world. But Washington food is excellent, I think. It can compete with just about virtually any other place.
Well, here's my clever way of segueing from that to some current events, which is, speaking of restaurants and the social life of D.C., I want to get your perspective, because you left Congress in 2002, and one of the criticisms we hear about Congress nowadays, which may have still been the case then, is that congressmen don't socialize, that back in the day they used to go to restaurants, they used to eat, they used to not always go home to their districts, and that's led to the coarsening of discourse in D.C. Is that true? Did you notice that when you were in Congress, and obviously when you look at D.C. now, is that whole idea of people aren't getting together after work for meals contributing to, obviously, the disaster that seems to be Washington right now?
Well, I think that's part of it. And when I came to Washington in '77, most members brought their families with them. So I'd say 2/3 of the members brought their families to D.C. and then went back to their districts every other weekend, once a month, whatever was necessitated. It's the reverse today. I think it's most members of Congress go back every weekend. And the problem is their schedules are so truncated. They come in on Tuesday, that and they're gone on Thursday, so they're really working 2 days basically on the Hill, and you can't do the work of the country in that short of time. It seems to me, with all the problems piling up. So getting together over a meal is an excellent way to break bread. I mean, if you're sitting with somebody from the other party that you just kind of want to meet, and you learn about their families, and you learn about their kids and their grandkids and their hobbies, you're less likely to be nasty. You're more open to being open about their point of view, and of course that's naturally going to lead to a better atmosphere to get work done. So it's important. We used to have in the house a table, a little dining area where members could just come and meet. And I used to try to make it a habit not to eat at the same table with the same Democrats all the time.
Right.
And occasionally, because I used to do this when I was in school too, I used to never sit in the same seat. It was one of those guys that would drive the professors a little nuts. But so anyway, I used to try to eat with folks from the opposite party occasionally, just to pick their brain. I unnerved them when I started to do it because I'm not sure they wanted me at their table. But, but eventually I got to make some friends, and they would invite me in very easily. So,
do you miss life in DC on Capitol Hill at all, or are you glad to be?
I miss my friends. And there when some issues are there that I really particularly have an interest in and built a career around are up, I get a little edgy, but I moved on from that part of my life now. My part of my life now is the restaurant business and my grandkids, of which I have 8.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised that the approval rating of Congress now is as low as it is?
No.
Not that it was necessarily high when you were in Congress either. I don't think it's ever been high, but it's like
a lot higher
record,
than it is today.
Right, it's at record lows now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised given the.
Why is that, and what can they do to fix that?
Well, I think the government is broken, and I think the political process is broken. And when I say that, I mean the rules in the Congress need to be changed so it works better.
Yeah.
The Senate, for instance, they've just started to tackle the whole filibuster question, and I think it's an important movement to try to correct the intransigence that's resulted because of the need to get a supermajority. They need to do some things in the House to build relationships better, and structurally, I would recommend that they would put together a group of people to think about how best to do that.
Yeah.
But a lot of this feeds back to, or leads back, I should say, and feeds into the political process. It's just, it's not a good system.
Yeah.
In many ways, it's borderline corrupt, the money race, and it's not good.
And do you see any reason that it's going to change?
Well, not with the
Because I feel like
courts.
we all know what the problems are,
are,
but then there's like very little optimism that things will get better.
It's the little optimism that's there is because I think the courts, they have the final say on it, and they've decided to go with basically free flow of money.
I think you got the better job now running restaurants than running Congress, right?
Well, let me put it to you this way: there's both a lot of heat in the kitchen in both jobs.
Good one. So you still got the catchphrase. All right, it's Agua 301. Is this gonna be like? Would you describe
modern
this?
Mexican food? And
Are we going to see a lot of powerful politicos there? Is it more of a family place?
Well, it's family. Children are welcome. You'll see politicos there. You'll see people from the art community, and you'll see a variety of people. You'll see people from our neighborhood. It'll be a neighborhood place. It's people that come from the ballpark. You got 2.5 million people that'll be walking by there 80 times a year. So, you get a nice variety. Ryan Zimmerman visits our restaurant over at the Zest.
Yeah.
So I suspect maybe some of the other ball players will come by eventually, and it'll be a nice place. The venue is just really spectacular, if I might be so immodest. It's on the water, and the landscape is lit gorgeously, and it's just a really pretty place to be.
All right.
And the food is
top
we got
notch.
Chef Antonio Burrell, who's was at Mazda 14 in Central, and is a well-respected and well-renowned chef in the city, and he's very good.
All right, David Bonior.
Nice
From
to meet you,
Capitol
Ben.
Hill to Cook.
To cook, yes.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.